Tesla stock at the time of recording this video is up 3.7%. And we have a ton of news to go over that you need to know. Actually, some huge news today. Yesterday, we had a lot of big news as well, but the markets were just so bearish. They were so pessimistic that it didn't get reflected in Tesla stock. Well, today is a different story. You can see the NASDAQ is up 0.7%, S&P's up 1/3%. Russell is down about 1/3%, and we have a lot of broader market news as well to get into here in this video. So I don't want to waste your time. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And let's get into today's episode. Tesla delivered an all-time record high 7,974 vehicles in South Korea in August. This marks Tesla Korea's best monthly sales ever. South Korea is Tesla's third biggest market this year after the US and China. The Model Y was the best-selling imported car with 6,683 units sold. The Model 3 sold 1,290 units. Tesla has sent out a new robotaxi app update. You can now add a new stop at the end of your ride and submit feedback at any time from the support screen. And as you probably already know, at some point this month, the Austin area should be opening to everyone, not just an invite-only service. And that's going to be a big deal when it happens for Tesla stock. Pretty cool as well. The Tesla Robotaxi app now has a new homepage design when you're outside of the service area. It shows all the locations Tesla's Robotaxi slash ride-hailing service is available, a learn more section, and more. Now look at this. This is pretty incredible. Mark Benioff posted this photo on his X account 11 hours ago. He says, quote, "The boys are back in town. Amazing what Elon Musk is doing to create the future. Just inspiring." You can see they're obviously playing with this Optimus here, but there's many more back here. This is the Optimus headquarters, if you will. This is where they train the Optimus bots. Now, this is probably one of the biggest pieces of news today. The Tesla Model Y sales have been incredible since launch, according to a new report. The Model Y L is selling very well. Since its launch, 120,000 orders have been received, with nearly 10,000 orders placed every day. Again, this is mainly in China, right? That you're seeing this very strong demand. You're seeing very strong demand in the US because the tax credit is ending. So you have strong demand in South Korea, as we just mentioned, strong demand in China, strong demand in the US. Well, that's not something that Wall Street really expected 3 months ago. So as I've talked about before on this channel, Q3 was expected to be strong, but Q4 wasn't expected to be super strong. There was this expectation that Q3 was going to be strong, and then as soon as you start Q4, that's not going to be as strong as Q3. Whereas I think Q4 may actually be better than Q3, and that is going to be an upside surprise. Volkswagen will temporarily halt production of the ID.4 EV in the US from the end of October and temporarily send home 160 employees due to slumping sales figures for the electric SUV. How long the production pause will last is likely to depend on the market, they say. Tesla will soon open its largest supercharger site in Canada with 44 stalls. After only 4 years, the Tesla Model Y has surpassed the Nissan Leaf's 14-year lifetime sales of 81,229 units in Norway, reaching 81,334 units sold, making the Model Y the new all-time best-selling EV in the country. Tesla is building a new delivery center at Giga Texas so customers can take direct delivery at the factory site. The $115 million Tesla Megapack battery energy storage system in Queensland, Australia will soon finish construction. It'll be able to power up to 300,000 homes for a couple hours during a blackout. Mark Benioff, Salesforce CEO, also took this video and posted it on X. It says, Elon's Tesla Optimus is here. Dawn of the physical agent force revolution, tackling human work for $200 to $500,000. Productivity game changer. Congrats, Elon Musk, and thank you for always being so kind to me. So take a listen. This has grok too, by the way.
Let's head to the kitchen.
Okay.
Okay, go.
I think we need to give it a bit more room. Right now, it's kind of paranoid about space. And I'll be able to walk a lot faster too.
Hey, Optimus.
So yeah, just hearing someone like Mark Benioff say this about productivity game changer and, you know, Elon Musk and throwing numbers out there, like Wall Street doesn't even pay attention to Optimus, right? They don't even hardly pay attention to Robotaxi. And today maybe is like, wow, yeah, maybe we should pay attention to Robotaxi. So I actually think, or Optimus. So I actually think this is part of why Tesla is moving higher today. And also, what's pretty cool here, humanoid robotics company Figure AI has released a new video of its robot loading a dishwasher autonomously. They say, today we're showcasing a neural network that can autonomously load a dishwasher. The same Helix model that folded towels and sorted packages can now load a dishwasher. No new algorithms, no special case engineering, just new data. With that, Helix learned to singulate packed plates and load them in order. Pick up a glass with one hand, reorient it, and place it carefully with the other. Adjust its strategy to account for messy starting configurations and recover gracefully from errors like misgraps or collisions. So, yeah. Pretty cool. Option activity today from hedge funds and institutions is incredibly bullish in Tesla. You have 75 different trades, again, from hedge funds and institutions, not including retail investors. These are very large trades, right? 75 trades totaling $267.4 million with a positive order value of 95%. Yesterday, you had $200 million worth of trades with a positive order value of 29%. So there is a big flip-flop from yesterday where people were pretty bearish to today. Almost everyone is bullish. Okay. Now, expiring this Friday, September 5th, you have volume of 59.45% calls and 40.55% puts. So yeah, things definitely flip-flopped a lot. You do have 652,000 shares today that are being sold short on net. Short interest of free float, 2.83%, $25.27 billion sold short in Tesla stock. That is 76.71 million shares that are sold short currently, and shares out on loan at 15.43 million. As I've talked about before, this is down 35% in the last 3 months. Short sellers really do not want to be short in Tesla. Like, there is zero appetite to short Tesla at this point. Now, in the broader markets today, the VIX is down 1.22%, so a little bit less fear, less hedging. The Russell 2000 is down 0.25%, NASDAQ down 0.87%, S&P is down 0.25%, the Dow is down around 0.5%. So a little bit more of a risk on day. Let's start, before we get into all of your other news, with the economic data today, because that was shocking. Okay. Jolt's job openings, get this, came in at 7.181 million. Okay. So what does this mean? Okay. This means, well, I should say we were expected to be at about 7.4 million. So this means you've either hired a bunch of people and those job openings no longer exist, or the economy is slowing down and those positions were not filled. They're just not needing to be filled anymore. Does that make sense? Like, if you're a, mom and pop shop and you're looking to hire 5 employees, okay? Well, if business is good and you hire 5 employees, well, now you're not going to have any job openings. So this number would go down, no job openings available. Okay, you filled all the positions. Or if you're a mom and pop shop and you're looking to hire 5 employees, but maybe you hire 2 employees and you say, okay, we're good with that. Then you lose 3 job openings because maybe the economy is not as good, okay? This was a shockingly low number today. And honestly, I'm a little surprised Wall Street reacted positively to this because it could be a red flag for a bad jobs report later this week. Now, factory orders month over month came in at negative 1.3%. And the expectation was negative 1.4%. You also got the Fed beige book as well today. A couple Fed speakers. We'll talk about that more in just a moment. Now, Thursday or tomorrow, you do get the Challenger job cuts, the ADP employment change, exports, imports, balance of trade, initial jobless claims, non-farm productivity, final numbers, unit labor cost. Okay, some smaller data. But one of the biggest things tomorrow is likely going to be ISM Services PMI for August. Okay, you're expecting the number to go from about 50.1 to 51. So you're expecting things to rise there. Business activity expected to rise. Employment expected to fall a little bit. New orders expected to fall a little bit. And prices are only expected to rise a little bit. So if prices come down, that's going to be really good with tomorrow's ISM Services PMI. And then obviously on Friday, this is all leading up to the big data set. That is non-farm payrolls, and that is the unemployment rate. Non-farm payrolls expected at 75,000. Unemployment rate expected at 4.3%. Honestly, the best case scenario is probably coming in line with expectations. Like, not enough to cause a large growth scare. Like, not enough for people to get fearful about a recession, but not enough for people to say, that was so strong, we don't need rate cuts at all. Right? Probably coming in line around 75,000 jobs is the best case scenario. You can make a bullish or negative, case for a high number or a low number, right? So that's going to be big. The unemployment rate is also going to be very important, arguably more important than the headline jobs number, at least from a rate cut perspective. Now, you could see today, the odds of rate cuts actually went up because the JOLTS job numbers came in really low. So, I don't know if JOLTS job openings coming in that low is actually a good thing, but the markets responded or reacted today like it was a good thing. So, yeah, we need more details, right? Like, what's the jobs report going to look like? Because that's a red flag. But the probability for a cut in September went from 86.6% to 94.6%. So the odds jumped like 8% today. Okay, based on that. October 29th, you're pricing in another cut as well. You're pricing in 2 cuts by October 29th. 52.4% chance of that. For December 10th, you're pricing in a 3rd cut, okay? Or getting pretty close to pricing in a 3rd cut. 2 cuts priced at 46.8%, and 3 cuts, the odds are 40.8%. So if we get a bad jobs report, you're going to start pricing in more cuts, but that's not going to be a good thing, right, for the markets. Ultimately, you want the Fed to be cutting rates for the right reason. Not like the economy is slowing down or going into a recession or anything like that. So, yeah, I just be a little careful in September. Like, the moves we see in markets, they're not always going to make a lot of sense. Even today, like, I would argue this probably wasn't a good data set. Like, job openings, you want to see those coming high, right? That's a good sign for the economy. So it's going to get a little weird. UBS today says, don't fear September or record highs. They say the S&P 500 dipped 0.7% to start September, historically the weakest month for stocks. UBS noted the index has fallen in 6 of the past 10 Septembers, averaging a 2% decline. Still, the bank advises investors not to fear seasonal weakness or record highs. UBS expects the S&P 500 to reach 6,800 by mid-2026, supported by 1. Strong earnings momentum. 81% of companies beat Q2 estimates. Anticipated Fed rate cuts of 100 basis points over the next 4 meetings. 3. Long-term AI-driven growth, with global AI capex projected at $500 billion by 2026. They say since 1960, the S&P has delivered 12% returns on average in a year after an all-time high and 38% over 3 years. Again, I honestly think we are shaping up to have probably the best 3 months we've had in markets in a long time. October, November, December of this year, I think are going to be exceptionally strong. I think the S&P could hit 700 by the end of this year. It's going to be a damn good time to be an investor, in my view. Again, not a financial advisor, in my opinion. Next year is going to be very strong as well. Something you don't want to miss out on. In my view, again, could be wrong. I make some pretty strong statements sometimes. But yeah, 2026, that's going to be the year. Economy should be getting better. Trade deals are hopefully done. Geopolitical tensions can die down. Consumer hopefully is recovering. Inflation is going away. And we can focus on AI, innovation, growth with a bunch of rate cuts. 2026 is really shaping up to be a big year for stocks. Trump says, I'll know what to do with Russia after the Putin talk. That is partially because Donald Trump last night wrote on X, the big question to be answered is whether or not President Xi of China will mention the massive amount of support and blood that the United States of America gave to China in order to help it to secure its freedom from a very unfriendly foreign invader. Many Americans died in China's quest for victory and glory. I hope they are rightfully honored and remembered for their bravery and sacrifice. May President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great and lasting day of celebration. Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as they conspire against the United States of America. So, he sent a shot here with this one last night. And Trump on Putin says, I am having a conversation with him within the next few days. Trump on the tariff case says, if we lose the court case, I guess we'd have to unwind trade deals. Trump says our country could be unbelievably poor again if we lose the tariff case. Trump says the U.S. could be rich or poor depending on the Supreme Court case on tariffs. Trump says that tariffs are vital to the success of the U.S. Trump says it's possible that someday tariffs replace income tax. Trump says he is thinking about removing troops from other countries. Says I'm thinking about removing troops from other countries, but I never even thought about removing troops from Poland. Trump says he may send the National Guard to Louisiana for crime. Trump says that he expects tremendous midterm results. Fitch Ratings projects U.S. government deficits will rise to 7.8% of GDP by 2026. Okay, this is the deal here, guys. Let's be clear. Okay, so tariffs and the court situation, it's pretty straightforward actually. Okay, if we don't have as many tariffs as we were expecting, then it's a problem for the deficit, right? The deficits are going to be larger. There's going to be more borrowing from the government. We've seen rates globally really rise yesterday on that. But if we don't have as many tariffs, you have less inflation, stronger economy, better earnings, more rate cuts. There is some big positives to that as well. In the very near term, between now and October 14th, presumably when we hear something from the Supreme Court on this matter, there's going to be uncertainty. And I think that's what the markets really reacted to yesterday and sold off on. Not that, not having tariffs is actually negative, right? Like the tariffs being canceled, I don't think that is net negative. But it's the uncertainty that's caused. And Wall Street in September has no room for uncertainty. They're just going to sell stocks. Trump says that Venezuela has been a very bad actor. That is obviously after the United States military used like a drone and exploded the boat that was carrying drugs from Venezuela, also killed 11 people. Implies second and third phases of Russian oil sanctions. Trump says that President Xi should have mentioned the U.S. in his speech. Trump says we will find out how U.S.-China relations are. Trump says we will find out over the next week or two how good the relationship is with Russia. Trump says I was watching China's military parade. AMD executive says we have more than 40 active engagements with different nations for sovereign AI. This was at the Citi Global TMT conference. Canada's Prime Minister Carney says I last spoke to Trump on Monday. Putin said we are not preparing Trump's visit to Moscow, but he's invited. And Putin said that nobody said anything negative on the US admin in Beijing. Putin on Trump's conspiracy comment says Trump has a sense of humor. So maybe we just take Trump a little too serious. Maybe he actually jokes sometimes. I don't know. I think that's how Putin took it. Putin says that Trump is trying to find a peaceful solution to the conflict in Ukraine. Putin on U.S. envoy Witkoff says he correctly relays our position to the U.S. president. Putin says that trade disbalances must be settled through negotiations. The U.S. has now more unemployed people than job openings for the first time since April of 2021. Bostic says, I am not ruling out a September rate cut depending on the coming jobs report and other data. Fed Bostic says businesses still expect a solid year and other evidence indicates Fed policy is not overly restrictive. Bostic says it remains unclear how consumer spending will evolve. Bostic says with hiring and labor supply both slowing, the U.S. remains near full employment. Bostic says businesses do not expect a big shift in the labor market, but if that happens, I will be diligent in the policy response. Bostic says, I still think tariff effects on consumer prices won't fade fast, may take months to materialize. Fed Bostic says that firms can't absorb higher tariffs much longer. Musa Liam today says there is a risk that the labor market will slow more than expected. And Fed Musa Liam says tariff revenue is helping the government's financial position. Again, it's one of those situations where like not having tariffs, it's going to make the financial position of the government look worse, but it's not something that is like immediately a major concern. Like 10 years from now, it's going to be a bigger problem. And Fed Musa Liam says AI will ultimately be a positive thing for the economy. And Fed Musa Liam says baseline is that tariff inflation impacts will fade, but there's a risk of persistence. Ed Waller says tariffs are a tax that will lead to slower growth this year. Again, if we don't have tariffs, that's better growth, less inflation, stronger earnings from corporate America. Sure, you have the offset that leads to a worsening financial situation for the government. But I think those three things, lower inflation, higher growth, better corporate earnings, are a net positive versus the government being in a slightly worse financial position. Waller says, I don't see recession, but slower growth. And Waller says, we know we'll have a blip of inflation, but it won't be permanent. 6 months out, we will be closer to 2%. Again, that's my expectation, right? I think into 2026, it's going to become clear inflation is really on its way to 2%. And that's what gives us a very strong or partially gives us a very strong rally next year. Ed Waller says, I see multiple cuts over the next few months. So again, guys, you just have to remember that September, there's going to be a lot of weird shit that happens in September. But you want to be stoic to this. You don't want to be super emotional. You want to be ready to capitalize on what I think will be the best 3 months in the markets that we have had in a very long time. That is October, November, and December. And I mean, from my perspective now, it looks obvious trade deals are going to get done, or we're not going to have tariffs problems in general, which, I mean, that's also positive, I think. We're going to have less inflation. We're going to have a bunch of Fed cuts heading into 2026, a stronger economy, better clarity around earnings, and a focus on AI growth. Like 2026 is shaping up to be a huge year for markets. And you do not want to miss that opportunity because, hey, September could be bad. Who cares? But if you could just make it through that, I think that there is a massive light at the end of the tunnel coming here soon. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to come trade with us live in real time, check that out. Link down below in the description of this video. The trading community portfolio is up 92% year to date. We are outperforming 98% of 99% of hedge funds and institutions this year. What we are doing is going out and finding those small cap AI stocks before Wall Street does. Okay, we're going out and we're early to these AI stocks, right? There's many testimonials to this. Nebius, Novartis, IONQ. Hell, I bought Palantir on IPO day at $10 per share back in the day. Okay, that's the idea. We're going out and buying these high quality AI stocks first. And yeah, small cap, right? They're small cap names. You're playing in the small cap arena. So it is very risky. It's not financial advice. Contact financial advisor. You're not, you are responsible for your own investment decisions. But if you guys want to come get involved with the community, check that link out down below in the description of today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, because it's free 99. It costs you absolutely nothing to do so. Yeah, that is going to do it. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.